So finished the day up 541. Let's see. So let's see what I've done. So I played the opening range on Boston Scientific. So when the stock was making a new 1 minute high, so it was consolidating at this point, so I didn't want to go in. But once it broke the 1 minute high here, so it broke this level, the 1 minute high. So this is like a bull flag. So once it broke this level, I went in. Unfortunately, it didn't continue the trend, so I started selling off at those levels. So that's I didn't really make much money off of that. So that was one play, and then later on, at around 10:40ish, what I saw here was a breakdown of. So it was making new 1 minute lows. And then I also saw that it was breaking down past the various moving averages. And so I went short, but then I got stopped out. So I covered half, and then I covered more over here. So that was one play. And then when I saw that it, again, was getting weak, I looked at level 2, and I looked at this. It was dropping below these moving averages. My stop loss would have been above the moving average, so my stop loss would be similar to that. It would be right here, and then I basically just covered on the way down. So I covered it all. I could have probably covered more here, but the thing that I was going for was this average right here, or not average, this previous day level right here, the I think 31.75 level, and eventually it did break that level, but I just wasn't patient. It had some pullback, so I just got out. But next time I should have been more patient. My fear was that it would just go back up to this level, but my stop loss would have been at break even at this point, so I would have moved my stop loss from here down to here. Risk-free money. I should have just let it run. I didn't do that, so that was my fault. But if I did that, this would have been what resulted. And this is a very good play, actually. You see in the other stocks that I'm going to show that this actually happened quite a few times. So that was that. ENPH. Okay, so for ENPH, what I did was I took a pretty sizable position. I saw that it made a new 1 minute high right there, or right here, 1 minute high. My stop loss, I think it was like a 5-cent stop loss. So I took a pretty sizable position, but it was very the spread was a penny, so it was easy to manage the risk. So my stop loss was down here. That was my reward. So what I was looking for, actually I think the high of the day, let's go back here. The high of the day at the time was around 620, so that was what I was aiming for in terms of risk to reward. So it was 5 cents for, basically another 15 cents or so, or 20 cents. 15 cents at 605. So I entered, and then when it popped, I basically sold towards the high of the day, which at the time, or actually it is still the high of the day, 623. So I basically sold towards the high of the day. So that was a pretty easy play. And the other thing too, again, it's all these moving averages, right? So I saw in the 1 minute, there's a lot of moving averages. 5 minutes, it broke through all the moving averages. So no resistance but up. So that's what I did on that play. Fox, I actually lost money on Fox. So here, it made a high. It sort of retraced, and then it went up again. So I thought that in this retracement, it was going to go up. So I actually took, again, a sizable position, but Fox, the risk was manageable. But I got stopped out. So that was one play. The second one, which was, I think I exited prematurely, but it is what it is, because I didn't want to, I had a pretty sizable position, and I didn't want to sit through the consolidation. I think in retrospect, what would have been better is if I had actually, I don't know if there's anything I could have done better. This may have been one of those stocks where, it's about timing and not much you can do about it. And the rationale is this. Usually you look at 5 minutes for confirmation, but because this stock is such a slow-moving stock, 453 to 460, maybe I can enter here. But that's a tough call. It was really tough. Basically what I did was, my rationale was, this is VWAP. It was above VWAP. It was a penny. I mean, it's not a penny stock, but the spread was good. So it's 447 at VWAP, entered 450-ish or 51, 450 probably. So that's like a 2-cent spread, right? So that's my risk, right? It's maybe 3, 4, 5-cent spread. I think I took 1,000 or 2,000 shares. And then what I was aiming for is high of the day, which it sort of hit right here. Actually, it did hit it. So that was what I was looking for. Unfortunately, it did some pullback. I didn't like it, so I basically exit at break even. And the rationale for why I enter was, it's above. Again, it's above all these all the resistance, or now it's a support. But it broke through all the resistance level, and there's nowhere else to go but up. Sometimes they do a retracement, kind of like this, towards the resistance level before going up again. So maybe a good entry point actually would have been maybe around here or here. Those two might have been a good entry point. Yeah, maybe that would have been better, because it's hard to say if this would make a pullback and then go up, right? Which is usually the case, actually. Once it gets a little distended, that's what it does. Either way, a small loss on Fox. So on Time Warner, opening range breakdown on, not Time Warner, AT&T. I saw it has this big drop. Actually, I don't really like these wicks, but I saw that, well, there's several things. Today, AT&T, the spread was very small, so it's extremely manageable, even despite the wick. So when I saw this long bearish candlestick, I just went short, and then I started covering. I took really big positions, actually, for this. So I covered all the way down here, and then when it started to pop back up, started cover again. So I think I made a couple $100 on that. So that was that. And then Time Warner. So for Time Warner, what did I do here? Oh, yes. So I saw that, again, it broke through all these resistance levels. So I shorted this stock, added some more to see what it does. But it was just going back and forth. I didn't really like the price action because of that, even though it eventually did drop. Let's see, it dropped to it, 98.78. Oh. So it did drop to 98.78. I don't like that one. 98.78. But it did have some pullbacks and whatnot. And when you have a sizable position, you don't want it to run against you. And it could run like this against you. So I didn't like that, so I exited. Small loss, $8. And then Tao. So Tao, for whatever reason, it had this huge drop. Yeah, it was just dropping insanely fast. So that's what, like, from 44 to 39. It's like a $5 drop. So when I saw, kept making new lows, but then at some points they have to cover, right? All the shorts have to cover. So when I saw it can I make a new 1 minute low, and it was heading towards, usually what happens is then it would just move back to the moving average, even if it's going to continue to drop. So that's what I thought, was it's going to move back up towards the moving average, especially since it got closer and closer to the moving average. I didn't want to go in here because I don't know if this is a retracement or not. So I waited another minute. It moved up, and then that's when I thought this is going to, that it's going to go back towards the moving average. I went long. Unfortunately, it dropped on me. But then I exited. because I didn't want it to continue dropping, right? Another, who knows, $5 or whatever. So I covered, but then when I saw I could not make another 1 minute low, I re-entered. In retrospect, though, a better entry would be right here, which is exactly at this new 1 minute high, new 1 minute high, new 5 minute high, and ride it through that. But instead, I added here. I think I was looking at level 2. The level 2 looked like it was going to do a reversal. So it took the same amount of positions, 500, but when I saw it kept on moving up, it was showing strength, I had another 500. And in retrospect, I should have probably kept it because it was so short that it probably, once it breaks this moving average, it was going to go test VWAP, which is sort of what it did, right? It didn't quite get close to VWAP, but it moved towards VWAP. Simply because of all the shorts, they have to cover. And then should have had a better entry there. But it broke through all those levels. If I held it a bit more, that would be an extra $1 or so. So even if I had 100 shares or 200 shares, that would be $100-200 right there, easy. But I covered it all pretty much at this level. Yeah, I pretty much covered it all at that level. So on the way towards the $40 mark, I just kept covering. Part of that too is to make up for this loss. But yeah. So up 541. And usually by 11:30, which is this time, I stop. That's sort of my rule, is stop at 11:30. Had a couple good plays. So yeah, I think what I need to keep in mind is that at some point when I start covering, especially during the last couple of shorts, pieces of stocks that I have left, is it essentially becomes a risk-free trade, right? Because once you start taking money out, taking profit, you move your stop loss. So for me, once that happens, I should just let it run a bit and being a little impatient. And I think that's affecting some of my results. But it is what it is. I'm happy with this, and I'm just aiming for consistency. So thanks for watching.